Dean Martin spent decades making the world smile. The smooth voice, the effortless jokes, the glass in his hand. He looked untouchable. But behind the spotlight was a man slowly falling apart. And in the end, the only person still standing beside him was the woman he had divorced years earlier. While Hollywood celebrated the legend, Jean Martin watched the man she loved disappear piece by piece. Before the fame, Dean Martin was just Dino Crocetti, the son of poor Italian immigrants growing up in the steel town of Steubenville, Ohio. He dropped out of school, worked brutal jobs, even boxed for money before discovering he could captivate a room simply by singing. That voice changed everything. By the 1950s, Dean had become one of the biggest entertainers in America, first with Jerry Lewis, then as a solo star and member of the legendary Rat Pack, alongside Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. To the public, Dean looked like the definition of cool. The late nights, the casinos, the whiskey, the endless laughter. But much of it was an act. Friends later admitted the famous drunk Dean Martin persona was mostly fake. Offstage, he was quiet, withdrawn, and often painfully lonely. Fame gave him millions of fans, but it slowly pulled him away from the people closest to him. His second wife, Jean Martin, stayed beside him through the height of his success. Together, they raised 7 children in a glamorous Hollywood world that looked perfect from the outside. But behind closed doors, Dean's constant absences and affairs damaged the marriage beyond repair. After 24 years together, they divorced in 1973. Still, people close to them always believed Jean remained the love of his life. Then came the tragedy that destroyed what was left of Dean Martin's spirit. In 1987, his son Dean Paul Martin died in a horrific military jet crash during a snowstorm. He was only 35 years old. Friends said something inside Dean died that day too. The man who once filled rooms with laughter became silent. He stopped performing regularly, stopped socializing, and withdrew from almost everyone around him. And strangely, it was Jean who returned. Even after the divorce, she quietly stayed near him during his darkest years. She checked on him, sat with him during lonely dinners, and watched helplessly as grief consumed him. Dean once joked about everything, but after losing his son, the jokes disappeared. According to friends, he often said, "I'm just waiting to die." This time, nobody laughed. By the early 1990s, years of smoking destroyed his health. Doctors diagnosed him with lung cancer, but Dean refused surgery. He seemed tired of fighting. On Christmas Day in 1995, Dean Martin died at 78 years old. Las Vegas dimmed its lights in his honor, and Hollywood mourned the loss of an icon. But behind the public tributes was a far sadder truth. The King of Cool spent his final years broken by grief, haunted by loss, and comforted only by the quiet loyalty of the woman who never truly stopped loving him. Maybe that's the real tragedy of Dean Martin. Not that fame changed him, but that it couldn't save him. Because in the end, the applause faded, the lights went dark, and all that remained was heartbreak and a memory of a life that looked perfect to everyone except the people living inside it.